Hey guys, so we're going to do a reading. So I wasn't sure if I was going to do another video on this, but boy, it just keeps getting more interesting and mysterious. Yet some things maybe aren't that big of a mystery with the Epstein thing and Trump. Now, one of the things I kind of sit there, sometimes kind of sit with and kind of channel some things, and also, listen to what people are saying, but what makes sense here? There's was one thing that is very obvious going on. Now we know Elon kind of lit the spark, then Pam Bondi really lit the spark. Like Elon said, "Hey, Trump said the Epstein files," and when he said that, I'm like, "Yeah, I know." I wasn't surprised. So while everybody is so fascinated that Elon says it, I don't know because there are those of us who are like, "Of course he is," and stuff. So anyway, then Pam Bondi says there's no client list, and that really got people, especially after she did the phase one with the influencers. Like, oh yeah, more to come. What do you set these guys up for? What's going on here? So that kind of makes me feel like, you're really just leading them on. You have to give them a little something because you fed the base all this crap to basically get Trump elected. And they aren't letting up here. So you thought that would do it and they could share all that with their people on social media, but they're not total dummies. And they knew that was all regurgitated information that had already been put out there. But you were hoping they were stupid and that would satisfy them and maybe they chill out about it. But no, that did not happen. She said, everything done, case closed, nothing to see here, we're finished. And somehow hope that that would appease the base, which absolutely did not. That started a fire and, all this stuff going on. And now, most of you know there was the story of Washington Street Journal, the letter that is supposed to be Trump. We're going to look and see if he wrote it. Okay. We're going to do that. And I kind of feel he did. Okay. Like he's saying, it doesn't even sound like me. That's not my language. And it's like, it sounds like something he would, drawing a naked woman and putting some kind of funny little conversation in there that seems a little demented and ending it with wonderful secret. That sounds like Trump to me. Okay. Um, but we're going to look at that if that letter is authentic. But the whole thing I really want to pile on here, and this is kind of some of my feels on it, is why is this all happening to Trump right now? Just timing is a funny thing because right now, let me read this. This is from AI Overview in Google. Ghislane Maxwell is appealing her sex trafficking conviction to the United States Supreme Court, arguing that a non prosecution agreement made with Jeffrey Epstein in 2008 should have shielded her from prosecution. Okay? The Justice Department is urging the Supreme Court to reject her appeal, asserting that the agreement was limited to the Southern District of Florida and did not apply to the prosecution in New York. Here's a more detailed breakdown. So we do have the DOJ sitting there saying nope, nope, reject it because it didn't apply there. Okay, you got that? And they're arguing, wait a minute, it covered me. They're trying to say that the language was broader, okay, than they're saying. So his Department of Justice is up against that. Mm-hmm. Okay, so we've got that. And then the argument, they contend the clause agreement, which they believe extends to co-conspirators, should have protected her from being tried in New York, where she was. The DOJ's response, here it comes. The Justice Department is arguing that the agreement is limited to the Southern District of Florida and that the parties involved in negotiating it did not intend for it to apply to other districts or to individuals like Maxwell, whom were not directly involved in the agreement. Maxwell's current situation. Maxwell is currently serving a 20-year prison sentence following with her conviction of 5 criminal counts, including sex trafficking. I'm going to say that. Key point of contention. A core of the appeal revolves around the interpretation. So this is why she's appealing and what she's trying to do to get out. Okay, so then this is in the news. Appealing to the Supreme Court. Trying to either get a retrial or have it tossed out. Tossed out is preferable so she could get out, right? She'd really, or pardon, right? Because there is apparently discussion of a pardon, like, hey, she knows a lot. But then it would have looked really incriminating, so people talked Trump out of that first term. But then the Washington Street Journal posts the story of the letter this week. Drops this. This is going on this week, and that drops this week. Are the two connected? I think so. I feel so. I feel, a matter of fact, Ghislane Maxwell, the family also published a letter, made sure it was in social media. It was also addressing Trump to keep your word. Okay, there was some stuff in there. But then, is it like I saw it described, a warning shot? Let's drop that letter and make him nervous. Because she knows everything. And she's sitting on a pile of information that could really hurt him. That letter already, there's people, it's got everybody all stirred up. Is it him? It's not him. What is he talking about? Wonderful secret. What's going on? It's definitely stirring the pot, but it's getting people to turn on stuff. Wait a minute. You only got to get so many people to turn. And of course, you only got to get so many people to turn for midterms to turn some stuff. And all of a sudden, they'll be impeaching Trump and all kinds of stuff. Okay? Right? So there's a lot that this could do. What else can she drop in the media? But I'm pretty sure, and we're going to look at it, is that connected with the letter that dropped with the Washington Street Journal? Let's check it all out. Let's see what kind of things the Spirit have to say on this. And we also look if the letter is real. Matter of fact, I wonder, hold on one second. Yeah, you know what? Let me pause for a minute because I'm going to get another deck for this one. I just had an idea. One moment. Okay, I'm going to do a little bit different. I'm going to do Kipper and Lenormand as well as Tarot because these will be interesting. So let's go to Kipper and see what it says because I've got this, because one of the things is these can have letters in them. So let's see what Kipper has to say. Okay, so we got the main female. Okay, so Ghislane Maxwell is making her appearance. So it's already coming in. Spirit's coming in loud and clear. Main female. Okay, there's some involvement. And it kind of has an energy of her kind of coming into the card and everything. Kind of ritzy. She's holding a rose. So this kind of makes me feel, she's trying to be like, I'm trying to be, kind of come at you gently here, putting that letter in there, but putting on a little pressure. This lady's still a smart person. Okay. What do we got here? Now we've got the card community. I believe the reason why the community is popping up in there is also we've got the main female, the lady putting this out in social media. X is a big one talking about it. It ain't letting up. But I feel like this, I'm going to put all this social media. Okay. I can put it out there. I can put it out there in the community. And also community can also even represent Trump's base, okay? But really, it's, a lot of people, are looking at this. So it's very interesting. Now, I've got the family room is sitting there and everything. And so this makes me feel like, a family room can be kind of a social gathering. I noticed the fireplace. Now, one of the things when Trump is going into his, White House, his briefings, he's being questioned by reporters. There's always that gaudy look. He made it gaudy. Fireplace in the background. So I feel like what it's saying is certain questions are going to be dropped when he's sitting there in front of the fireplace, talking there. It's going to keep coming up. He's trying to deflect it off and everything like that. But there's going to be more of that. And let's kind of go ahead and see what we've got. Now, we've got the card High Honor, which is, this is military battle. Man, I hope he doesn't do something stupid, try to deflect and blame by some, some kind of wag the dog here. Okay? But we did, when he kind of dropped things on Israel, let's put it that, or not on Israel, excuse me, on Iran, was he trying to deflect and blame because of all this here? Yeah, so we got to be careful. He's a loose cannon. Now we've got the main male. So notice we've got main female and main male is popping up here. That's Epstein. Okay, because notice we've got these two are very connected and everything. Now, what is it going to say next to that? Oh, we've got a thief here and everything is sitting next to this. Now, this is interesting. Well, we know he's a lot more than that and stuff. So I'm wondering, as this is popping up in here, there's people, this is interesting. I mean, there's people that I feel, she's got the goods on. Somebody's going to get a hold of some things that are in the files right now. I guess they're all locked up with the FBI and the DOJ and all that. But this thief card is interesting. Okay, so maybe somebody they had the book and went in and swiped or something. Okay, there could be some energy there, but they're also doing it because of this. The main female pops up right away. I have a feeling somebody's got a hold of more things here, because this, it's worth a lot of money and it could do a lot of damage and stuff. And then I've got the mature woman popping up in here. I immediately thought that when I'm kind of coming in, this mature woman is Trump's advisor, Susie. I think it's Susie Giles and stuff. She's probably one of the saner people in his orbit. She's trying to direct him and keep him calm, but he keeps putting his foot in his mouth with some things. So very interesting. We've got a little thievery. So this makes me feel there is at least one person who is taking stuff, has access to these files, and is taking stuff. Now, I don't feel like the Kash Patel and the Don Bongino, the ones who ranted about the Epstein files for so many years, now that they've got a chance to sit with them, they're getting all quiet about it, okay, and stuff. They seem to be caving to the order and everything. Not so easy when you've been, selling your base, or, then you finally get access to go quiet. So there's some things there. There's some payoffs there. Okay, so now we're going to go to Lenormand and stuff, and let's see. Okay, so we've got the ring here. This makes, now notice the first card was the Ghislane Maxwell, the woman. So we've got, she's reminding there's minds and commitments to this agreement with it, and that's what's going on in the peel. But there's deeper things that she's also talking about, keeping his word. So this makes me feel something kind of mixed in there. Okay, he's made, some, and there's also promises to secrecy here. Remember, he talked about wonderful secret. Okay, there are some promises there, but he's kind of breaking things, and it's like she's coming in reminding of promises and so forth. A ring can be that, a vow, a promise, a bind, something that binds you to. Okay, and let's see. Now, the child card is popping up. I think that's obvious. There were children. When we talk about these young girls, they were children, okay, and stuff. Yes, all this coming out, okay, about that. But yes, the youth, the children, and this is what, MAGA is in an uproar about. He's gambling. We've got the dice. He's definitely gambling. He's playing around, but he's really gambling if he doesn't do something with Ghislane. He's damned if he do, damned if he don't. If he tries to keep her in jail, okay, and he doesn't do a little something to at least get her another trial, okay, and stuff, more to come, okay, especially this, okay, more to come and stuff. But she's really hoping pardon. Either way, she don't care about nothing but getting out. We got to remember that. And he is all about it, wanting it to go away. Now, we've got this kind of maze here and all these people. What this makes me feel is, yes, everybody's trying to get to the truth, and he's got, all his people kind of walking through a maze of confusion and all kinds of stuff. But, over there sitting in the middle, there seems to be a lady sitting in the middle. And that just that makes me feel a little bit of Ghislane Maxwell, that, hey, I'm in here, I got all the goods. You guys are over here, you think you know what's going on. I know exactly what's going on, and I'm going to dump it if I don't get out of jail. Okay, so it's very interesting. And then the moon, which can also be about mystery, secrets, and everything, is coming up in here. Now, let's see. We're getting some interesting cards popping up. Now, we do have the stork is popping up and everything, and we've got this kind of shiny energy and this birth and stuff. So, but storks can also be about what? Announcements, like the announcement of a birth and everything. So I feel like something new and different is going to be announced in the media. Expect more to come. It's not going to be just old stuff talked about. There you go. The mice. The mice are tricky. They come to sabotage and things like that. This is really messing up his game. They're, and it also is in the same position that the thief was and everything. So there's, I think that's actually Trump's people trying to sabotage the freight train going on. What's going to be the final and stuff like that. So we've got this kind of energy, with the stairs and like this outside garden that is popping up and everything. What this kind of makes me feel is somehow she's getting free. Somehow in the mix of this, she's getting free. He is in a position, he's kind of gambling at the moment. His DOJ is pushing back. He has to let her free. He's going to have to, right now, all he is trying to do is, I got to shut this woman up. I got to give her what she wants. I just got to figure out a way to give her what she wants, but do it in a way that doesn't make me look bad. What is the cleanest way I can do this? Okay, he knows doing a pardon right now would cause an absolute uproar. Okay, and stuff. But he's got to do something. But if he lets it all go to trial and she gets off in a trial, like a new trial, especially if they say, hey, the President of the United States said everything was a hoax. We got him on social media, so why is she in jail? That's all it really takes. That's all it really takes and stuff. And everything. But they're basing it on the thing with the co-conspirator. Is he going to do a little whispering to some of the people in the Supreme Court? So then if it's done in the Supreme Court, it's not necessarily seen as Trump directly giving her a pardon. Okay, so he's right now trying to figure out, he doesn't want to keep her in jail. Because the drop, okay, it's looking like she dropped it. Let's see how this is all going to play out. Glad I pulled those decks. They're very revealing. Let's see. All right. Death. Oh, yeah, a lot of this stuff, Trump definitely wants this to end, but I would say what's really coming to an end and everything is, like the Epstein thing is all stirred up. He wants it to end, but we're going into a new phase, new chapter is really what it is, and stuff like that. And yes, Ghislane Maxwell wants to walk out of jail. Okay, she wants to leave it behind, walk out of jail, and she's trying to figure it out how. And stuff. She's going to be victorious in some way. I know, I hate to say it, guys, but at least somehow, because she's got the gain card and everything. So this very often can show a single woman and things like that. She's setting herself up for victory here. I think she's going to get out of jail. Except she wants to walk out of there. Except her card actually shows as a Queen of Swords. Notice the Queen holds the head. Yeah, she can take his head and a lot of other people. He knows it. She knows too much stuff. Okay, so she's, she's going to find a way. It's a powerful people, guys. Okay, like that. But yes, there's a lot of conflict. There's a lot of conflict in MAGA, the base, with Trump and everything going on. The strife is massive. But it's the people in power. Okay, we've got the power card popping up and everything and stuff. So we've got the lovers that is popping up in here. That makes me feel Ghislaine Maxwell and Jeffrey Epstein in this case. But also, I look as well, it can also be these guys. There is a handshake agreement deal there. Okay. And yeah, he's definitely traumatized by it. It's caused a lot of suffering, but really, the suffering of the girls is the main issue and stuff. Yeah, he's definitely working on some scheming here and stuff. He's failing. Yep, here comes the change. It popped up for him again. He's failing. He's failing. He's one thing. Keeping her silent in prison is not happening. She's gonna find a way out of here and stuff like that and everything. And then we've got the Empress energy. Yes, all the women, is the big thing and stuff. But the star is the light at the end of the tunnel. We will get through this and stuff. And let's kind of, yeah, the Knight of Wands comes up a lot. The guard, the block to the Epstein files. Okay, that's the strength card. Is Nine of Wands in the thought deck. That guard, that block, they're keeping it. He doesn't want that to see a light of day. But judgment is the outcome. Okay, with certain things, judgment. He will be judged by his base. He will be judged by social media. I'm thinking somehow, everything the way it looks, he's trying to find a clean way of letting her get her way, get out, whatever. So she will be quiet and everything. And it looks like, yes, it's hard not to connect the two. Literally this same week, Ghislaine Maxwell puts a letter out, makes sure social media sees it, okay, and stuff, what she wants. I kind of read the situation, the basis for the argument, okay. If she doesn't get her way, Washington Journal's going to put, or someone else is going to drop more things in there, more to come and stuff. Very interesting, juicy stuff. So I do feel, and we saw that thief energy. So somehow it kind of makes me feel someone also connected to her is also, or somehow whatever is going on has access to the files. I feel they've got a little bit more stuff because that thief is sitting next to the main male, which I feel was the Jeffrey Epstein card. There's people, how many hands have probably got in on this evidence? So more can definitely drop in the news. It doesn't end with that letter. And if she doesn't get her way, like if Supreme Court says, don't forget about it or something, and she's like completely out of it, am I supposed to just sit here? Because she already made a hint that she's willing to talk to Congress. She's putting on the pressure for either a pardon or a new trial. That's why some of this is bubbling up to the surface. Okay, but the letter, yeah, I would say warning shot. I would say so. Everything looks there. She was the very first card that popped up. All right, you guys, see what happens.